Welcome again to the 2025 National Sweepstakes Convention in Little Rock, Arkansas. Today, I am thrilled to have one of the legendary sweepers that have attended numerous conventions that many of you know, Steve Dadoff, with us, and we're going to find out how well you know Steve. So, without further ado, let me bring in Steve. And Steve, go ahead and give us a basic introduction of yourself and welcome.
Well, welcome. I'm glad to be here. I wish I was at the convention. I missed one convention in 30 years and haven't been there for the last, I don't know, 4 or 5. Things have changed a bit for me. I mean, I'm now 82 years old and can't stand around much anymore and don't walk that much anymore, but still enjoying sweepstaking. I've now been entering sweepstakes. It's hard to believe, 45 years. This year is my 45th anniversary entering sweeps. I've enjoyed it. I've won a lot of things. I continue to do it. I continue to try and teach people, but I admit I'm retired and the challenge is still there, but I have some other things challenging me now. I'm in a retirement community and I help the management there. I'm been elected to the board of directors and do a lot of videos and things like that to help them out. And so that's a challenge that keeps me mentally sharp. So I'm enjoying life, especially here in San Diego.
That is awesome to hear. Do you have maybe a favorite convention memory or a favorite convention that you might want to share?
Well, I have to say the 3 I ran in San Diego have to be my favorite.
I'm not
Uh,
surprised.
Especially the last one. The last one had a real funny experience. I found somebody here at my retirement facility who I introduced to sweepstaking. And so he came to the sweepstakes convention and he brought his wife, and she was very dubious about winning things. And he had only been sweeping, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks. And he sat near the front row and we had one of the drawings, and I pulled out his name for a $5,000 prize. And I kept telling Steve Shanahan, standing next to me, I don't want to pull out anybody because it looked phony. I want you to draw the names. He says, no, it's your convention. You draw the names. So I draw out his name and he wins $5,000. Well, at the end, we didn't have enough $5,000 things. So the last prize, I think, was $1,200 or $1,300. And again, I said, Steve, you do it. No, he said, you do it. And I pulled my wife out. And I said, this is ridiculous. Everybody has to think I'm cheating. But it wasn't. I mean, just reached in and pulled it out. So those are some highlights. But I think we've had a lot of fun at the convention. So I enjoy them all.
You know, in defense of what you're just saying, now I've been involved with many of the conventions and drawing names and announcing names, and I can tell you, just like you can tell everyone, anyone up there just wants to draw the names and get through everything to keep everything running on time. And I always laugh when I am drawing names or calling names, and someone comes up and thanks me, or someone comes up and says, "Hey, you didn't call my name." You know, none of us have any control over that. So. Um, well, the whole point of having you today is we want to know who knows Steve the best. So everyone was given a sheet and they filled it out and they've now turned it in with their answers. So we're going to ask you the questions and reveal the answers and then find out who knows Steve best. So the first question is, in what city were you born?
It's a funny one. I was born in West Point, New York, at the military academy, which has certainly got to be a very unusual place to be born. My father was stationed next door at Stewart Field, and there was no hospital there. So he took my mother to the military academy, and that's where I was born. Kind of
Wow.
strange. Yep.
And when did you end up in San Diego?
1982. But I've been, as you know, I've been everywhere. I've been in all 50 states. I've been in 106 countries, and I've just wandered around. But we've been here now about 40 years. So
Wow.
it's my home now forever.
I think you just made people really question how old they are. Even myself, when you said 40 years in 1982, and I was going, that was 40 years ago. So, so the second question, who was your original inspiration to start entering sweepstakes?
Oh, it was definitely contest newsletter, which I think is true for a lot of longtime sweepers. Uh, I always tell the story, the stamps for Publishers Clearinghouse. I got them one day and there was a stamp for contest newsletter and I sent it in and I got this thin paper, almost onion skin paper, and on the back was a list of people's prizes. And I looked at that and I said, "Wow, people win these things?" And my friends said, "No, it's not real." And I said, "Well, maybe it is." And I started entering, and I've been winning ever since. So
What the third that brings us to the third question. What what was your very first prize?
a TV and a VCR to show you how old that was. Back in the VCR days, but that was my first thing. So I always remember that.
Do you remember who it was from?
Toothpaste company. I can't remember exactly who. They'd
Huh.
probably be mad that I didn't remember them, but that's okay.
Um, you've won a lot of trips, and we're going to cover how many later on. But the fourth question is, what is the favorite city that you've ever won a trip to?
Boy, that's hard to pick, but I'd have to say Rio de Janeiro. Uh, and luckily, I've been there 3 times, so it's been nice. I really enjoy everything down there. A lot of contrast between the beach community and the downtown, and being able to get around. So I've enjoyed that a lot.
Number five, what sponsor is your all-time favorite?
I would say it has to be Coca-Cola, just by sheer numbers. I mean, I've enjoyed the other sponsors who have provided some fantastic trips. We don't call them trips anymore, right? We call them experiences. But Coca-Cola, I have to think I've won a couple of dozen trips and probably 60 or 70 prizes just from Coca-Cola. So I've really enjoyed them, and I've got to talk to some of their marketing people at one of the trips that I won, and talk to them about how they do things. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Boy, I can echo that. They do a wonderful job. I had one year that I won 3 trips from Coke, planned them with the same person, and by the third time they're like, "I recognize your name." Um, so I'm sure you've had those similar experiences.
Yeah, and two things with that. One is, unfortunately, my addiction, besides sweepstakes, my addiction is drinking Coca-Cola. I can't stand Diet Coke, and I only drink regular Coke. And my doctor has said, "You're drinking too much." I've got him to agree I could have one a week instead of my previous one a day. So I've tried to do that.
How's that coming?
I'm surviving.
Um, the sixth question, and I have this was one of the questions when I was doing these questions. A lot of them I don't know the answers to, but this was one I don't know if I've ever heard you speak on. So, what was the largest single cash prize that you ever won in a sweepstakes?
I won $10,000 twice. So that to me was the largest cash ones. Obviously, I've won some other prizes that had higher values, but cash wise, and obviously that's what everybody wants. And being retired with today's inflation, that's obviously something I'm looking for now, but recognizing the odds are terrible when it comes to winning cash prizes, but I keep trying.
Yes, everyone focuses on cash. It's one of the uh, highest filters always on I win as people go and sort by cash because they want the cash prizes.
Well, it never
Um,
used to be for me. I mean, I was always looking for trips. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. If there was a trip, I was going to enter. I don't care where it was. But like I said, I've changed a little bit.
I have to ask question number 7 because not everyone knows, but how many vehicles have you won?
Zero.
Which is still so amazing.
I don't know if you remember the story I used to tell at the first San Diego convention. I invited the financial editor of the Union Tribune, and the Postmaster General of San Diego to come to the convention and talk. And I made the mistake of not interviewing them first to hear what they were going to talk about. And so Don Bowder, the editor of the Union Tribune, gets up there on the stage, and the audience is out there with about five or 600 people. And he says, somewhat like this, you have to be very careful, you people out there, because there's so many scams out there. Now, this was 1994. And he says, there's so many scams out there that nobody wins a car, nobody wins all these things, and please be careful. And I stopped him in the middle of his talk. And I said, wait a minute, Don. And I got up on the stage and I said, would everybody who's won a car please stand up? And half the audience stood up. He was totally shocked. And then I said, okay, if you won 2 cars, stay standing. And of course, we went on after that. But I always remember that. And of course, I remember conventions where people have said, everybody's won a car, stand up. And I, in my mic, I say, I'm sitting down. And I sit down while I ask everybody else to stand up. But I keep trying. Who knows?
I gotta tell you, but when you win a car, I really want to come to San Diego and see you get it and get the keys, because it's like the Dan Marino in the NFL getting his Super Bowl ring finally. You've won everything else that you can imagine. So I'd love to see it happen for you.
And of course, people know my best sweeping friend is Steve Shanahan, besides you, Tom. And he and I enter all the same stuff. And as most people know, he's won 20 cars. So it's something that challenges me, but still eludes me.
How many times have the two of you been at the same key turn? Have you guys been finalists at the same key turn before?
2 or 3, I guess. And of course, one key turn, we came down to the last 2 people, and I was one of them, and didn't win. So
I have yet to do a key turn. I really want to do a key turn.
Really?
Not done a key turn. So one
the
day.
radio stations used to do them so often, but I don't think we've had one here probably in the last 15 years.
One of my members was just a finalist up in the East Coast states. They same thing, they qualify you with a key and you'd
Right.
come out. So one day. Number 8, which celebrity was your favorite to meet because of a sweepstakes win?
Boy, I guess from a musical point of celebrity, I would say Carrie Underwood. I've met a lot of sports celebrities. I guess you would call them celebrities. Bobby Labonte took me around in his race car at 160 miles an hour and all kinds of things like that. So they've been a lot of fun. But the unusual thing with Carrie Underwood is we actually had to fly up to Billings, Montana, where she was doing some concert in a small venue. And there we were, and she treated us just like royalty. So it was really nice.
Huh, that was great to hear. What is an item, not a trip or destination, where we'll eliminate car as well, that has eluded you, that you've always been trying to win?
I couldn't think of any. I mean, I feel like I've won everything that I could possibly want. I'm sure I forgot something somewhere, but I've never thought about it, so it's never bothered me. Certainly the car thing is the only one I can think of.
Interesting.
But I mean, what do you do after you've won 15 big screen televisions and 12 smartphones and everything else? You just keep looking for new things.
How many coolers?
Oh God, probably 50 of them. And I remember when we all used to win the T-shirts and the hats, of course. That was a big thing years and years ago.
The last question is number 10. What is your go-to method or your favorite method for entering sweepstakes?
It used to be certainly mail-ins. I mean, that was to me the mail-in stuff, especially while people may think this odd, the ones which you can enter daily were, I always thought I had an advantage over a lot of people because most people wouldn't do that. They wouldn't spend the postage to enter 30 days in a row. And I would enter for both me and my wife 30 days in a row, and I could afford the postage back then. So I think that would be the thing. And now, of course, there's hardly any, mail-ins left. There are some, obviously, but entering via the internet. And then, of course, searching for something that's restricted is, to me, is the number one thing in terms of entering. what is restricted. I mean, you know it. There are sweepstakes now that are only open for an hour, only open during the Super Bowl, only open during a NASCAR race, those kinds of things. So obviously, I'm looking for those. I think those have good odds sometimes.
So to clarify, what would be your final answer if you could enter by one method?
It would certainly be via the internet. I mean, that's got to be it.
Online entry.
Yeah, online is what yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, and the tiebreaker question, and I could probably guess, but I don't know exact. How many trips have you now won in total?
308.
And I was going to guess 306. So 308.
Well, two of them probably since I talked to you before, but we won a Monday Night Football trip to Tampa, and we won another trip to Napa Valley, probably my 10th one up there. So that brought it up to 308. And it's been a while. I keep trying for more, but that's the number.
Well, and we talked earlier before we went on. So how I'd like to end it is, what are your thoughts on sweepstakes and the industry in general, where it's going, what you've seen, and maybe some words of wisdom or advice that you can give to people who want to be sitting there like you one day and talking about these massive amounts of wins they've collected over the years?
Well, I guess the whole scammer stuff and where it's going and what it's led to, I get very kind of frustrated when somebody tells me I need a password to enter a sweepstakes. To me, it's just crazy. But of course, the password stuff has just hit everything. Everybody requires a password of some kind, and I find that kind of annoying. On the other hand, I'm surprised at how easy it is now to enter sweepstakes via cell phone. I remember when cell phones were, well, not when they first came out, but not that long ago, sites were not optimized very well for cell phones. Now every website, presents itself absolutely perfect on your phone. And so it's very easy to sit there and do it, especially if you can't be around your computer in front of my nice 34-inch monitor that I'm sitting in front of here. So that's one. I noticed that there are some maybe sponsors or judging agencies that are monitoring IP addresses. And I'll get an error message saying, we detected your IP address has already been used and you can't enter in again. I've even detected a couple of them that have detected RoboForm. And I've had to go back and either slow it down or enter manually. And probably the one thing coming is this AI, and where is AI going and what is it going to lead to? I use AI for creating written documents, for doing videos, for doing pictures. I mean, it's amazing with pictures where you can just use your finger and wipe out something that's right in front of the picture and it bothering your picture, making it look bad. I'm not too sure yet about using AI to find sweepstakes. I think for me, that's still something I got to keep working on, because when I do it, most of the sweepstakes I find are still old. I haven't figured out the right way yet that I can find sweepstakes that maybe just came out or have only been out for a week or something like that. The databases that I'm using, whether it's ChatGPT or Gemini or any of those, seem to be looking more towards older databases. But I went out and got myself a certificate in AI. I am now got an actual certificate that I can put on my wall. And I've actually been teaching some of the people here at our retirement community about AI. So certainly there's going to be a lot more coming with AI, and I assume it'll affect sweepstakes a lot.
I tend to agree with all of that. So, but huge thank you for joining us here in Little Rock and being part of the convention, at least from your home in wonderful San Diego. But on behalf of the entire convention, just thank you for doing this. Thank you for being an inspiration to myself and motivation to myself and so many other sweepers over the years.
Well, thanks for the kind words, and I hope everybody there has a great time.
Last thing I have to bring up is Pat. We have to give our best to Pat, your wife, and do you have an update on Pat and how she's doing?
She's doing fine. She's very involved with things here on various committees, working in one of the libraries, doing all those kinds of things. She still does not enter any sweepstakes, never has, probably never will. My daughter, the same way. She's now, I hate to say it, but she's 45 years old and is off on her own. She now lives outside of Atlanta, and she's never entered a sweepstakes either, but she certainly has enjoyed the prizes. So it's been fun.
Well, thank you. Thank you again, and all the best to you and your wife. And hopefully, we will cross paths again soon.
Absolutely. Hopefully on a trip.
Thank you.
Okay. Take care.